The ranch burns while a black mother discovers the white rancher who saved her family, murdered her first husband 15 years ago. Mercy Caldwell clutches the bloodied confession letter as her son aims a rifle at Samuel McKenna, the man who found her sleeping on a station bench with nowhere else to go. She had trusted him completely, building a life from nothing after he whispered those two words that changed everything. Come home. Now Sheriff Coleman approaches with arrest warrants. The cattle baron who wants their land watches from the shadows, and Mercy faces an impossible choice between justice for her dead husband and protecting the family they built on his blood money. Mercy Caldwell survived slavery, widowhood, and frontier prejudice, but tonight she must decide if love can exist alongside the truth that destroys everything. The ranch house burns against the Wyoming night. Flames lick at 15 years of careful building, 15 years of trust. Mercy Caldwell stands in the orange glow, a bloodied letter trembling in her dark hands. Behind her, Jacob aims his father's rifle at the back of Samuel McKenna's head. The boy's hands shake, but his aim holds steady. Sheriff Coleman approaches with his deputies. Their boots crunch on frost-hardened ground. Samuel raises his hands, slowly. He does not turn around. Samuel McKenna, Coleman calls out. You are under arrest for the murder of Thomas Caldwell. The letter in Mercy's grip bears an official seal, Thomas Caldwell's handwriting, words that change everything. 15 years. Mercy's voice cuts through the crackling flames. 15 years I believed you. Samuel's shoulders drop. Mercy, let me explain. Don't. Jacob's voice cracks. Don't you say her name. The fire consumes the porch where Mercy served countless meals. The windows where she hung curtains, the door where Samuel first carried her sick boy inside, all of it burning, 15 years earlier. The station bench bit cold through Mercy's worn dress. 3 days she had sat here. 3 days watching trains carry people to places she could never afford to go. Jacob coughed again. The boy's fever had broken, but his chest still rattled. 8 years old, and already carrying too much weight in his thin shoulders. Mercy's needle moved through the torn shirt in her lap. 20 cents for mending, 15 cents for the last one. Not enough for train fare, not enough for a room, barely enough for bread. The Wyoming wind carried dust and the smell of horses. Men passed without looking. Women clutched their children tighter when they saw her. A black woman with a sick child. No husband in sight. The kind of trouble decent folks avoided. Ma'am. The station master stood over her. His shadow blocked the weak November sun. Can't have you camping here indefinitely. Mercy kept sewing. I'm waiting for my connection. Been waiting 3 days, time to move along. Jacob stirred against her side. His breathing came shallow and quick. Moving him now might kill him. Staying might kill them both. Please. The word cost her everything. Just until morning. The station master's face hardened. I've got complaints. Paying customers don't want to see vagrants cluttering up the platform. Mercy set down her needle. She had survived worse than this man's cruelty. Survived slavery. Survived Thomas's death. Survived the long journey west, chasing promises that turned to lies. But Jacob was dying by degrees. And her pride would not save him. One more night, she said. I'll find somewhere else tomorrow. The station master walked away without answering. The promise of sheriff's deputies hung in the air. Mercy pulled Jacob closer. His small body shivered against her ribs. She had failed Thomas. Failed to give their son the life they had dreamed about in whispered conversations. Failed to find the fresh start that would make his father's sacrifice worthwhile. The sun dropped toward the mountains. Cold bit deeper into the platform. Mercy wrapped her shawl around Jacob's shoulders and tried not to count the coins in her pocket. A wagon creaked to a stop near the platform. The man driving it had been watching her for 3 days. Never approached, never spoke. Just watched with eyes that held too much understanding. He climbed down slowly, tall and lean with hands that spoke of hard work, His clothes were clean but patched. A rancher by the look of him, the kind of man who fixed his own fences and doctored his own cattle. Samuel McKenna had learned to recognize desperation. It wore the same face on everyone, black or white, man or woman, the look of someone with nowhere left to run. He had worn that face himself. "Ma'am?" He stopped a respectful distance away. "I've got a big house, empty rooms, fair wages for honest work." Mercy studied his face. No hunger in his eyes, no cruelty, just a bone-deep weariness that matched her own. "What kind of work?" "Whatever needs doing, cooking, mending, bookkeeping. Your boy can learn ranching if he takes to it." Around them, other travelers turned to stare. Whispers carried on the wind. A white man offering work to a black woman, the kind of arrangement that got people killed. Samuel seemed to understand her hesitation. "I lost my family 2 years back, scarlet fever. House has been empty since, could use someone to bring it back to life." Jacob coughed again. Blood flecked his lips. Mercy made her choice. "We'll come." Samuel nodded once. He loaded their few possessions into his wagon bed, helped Jacob onto the seat with gentle hands, offered Mercy his arm to climb up. The station. Master watched from his doorway. His expression promised trouble. Other folks gathered on the platform. Their faces held the same promise. Samuel clicked his tongue at the horses. The wagon rolled away from the station, away from the whispers and stares and 3 days of cold that had nearly claimed her son's life. "Thank you," Mercy said. Samuel kept his eyes on the road ahead. "Don't thank me yet." The wagon carried them into the Wyoming darkness. Behind them, the station lights faded to nothing. Ahead lay Samuel's ranch, his empty house, his reasons for helping strangers. Mercy held Jacob close and tried not to think about the cost of accepting kindness from a white man, in a place where kindness could be mistaken for something else entirely. The horses' hooves beat steady rhythm against frozen ground, taking them home, or toward whatever passed for home when you had nowhere else to go. 2 years had changed everything. Jacob stood taller now, 10 years old with calloused hands and steady eyes. He worked beside Samuel in the morning light, mending fence posts with the focused attention of a boy learning to be a man. Samuel no longer flinched when he heard footsteps in the kitchen, no longer startled when laughter echoed through rooms that had been silent too long. The house breathed again. Mercy stood at the kitchen window watching them work. Her fingers traced the edge of an envelope. Army correspondence. Official seals. The kind of letter that changed lives. She had not opened it. Behind her, the ledger lay open on the kitchen table. Numbers in her careful handwriting. Contracts signed with her practiced forgery. Samuel's signature reproduced so perfectly that even she sometimes forgot which ones were real. Thomas had taught her to read during the quiet hours after their wedding. Letters first, then words, then entire pages of scripture and law. A dangerous gift for a woman like her. Knowledge that could hang her if the wrong people discovered it. Samuel thought she could barely write her own name. She had let him believe it while she rebuilt his failing ranch one falsified document at a time. The sound of hoofbeats broke her concentration. A rider approached fast across the winter-hard ground. Harrison Wild. Cattle baron and trouble in expensive boots. Mercy slipped the army letter into her apron pocket. Closed the ledger. By the time Wild dismounted, she had transformed back into what he expected to see. The quiet housekeeper who served coffee and disappeared. "Samuel." Wild removed his hat with exaggerated courtesy. "Fine morning." Samuel set down his hammer. Jacob moved closer to his side. 2 years had taught the boy to recognize danger in polite voices. "Harrison, what brings you out?" "Neighborly concern." Wild's smile carried Winter's bite. "Heard you've been expanding operations. New contracts. With the railroad. Impressive for a man in your circumstances." Samuel's jaw tightened. His circumstances. Code for a rancher living with a black woman and her child. Code for arrangements that decent folks questioned. Business is good, Samuel said. Indeed. Makes a man wonder where you found the capital, the expertise. Wild's eyes found Mercy through the kitchen window. Though I suppose we all have our ways of managing difficult affairs. The threat hung between them like smoke. Jacob's hand drifted toward the knife on his belt. Samuel caught the movement, shook his head once. If you've got business to discuss it, Samuel said. Direct, I appreciate that. Wild remounted his horse. I'm prepared to make you a generous offer for this place. More than generous, considering recent developments. Not interested? Think carefully, Samuel. A man in your position can't afford to make enemies, especially when those enemies might ask uncomfortable questions about certain business practices. Wild rode away without looking back. His message delivered. Samuel stood motionless until the hoofbeats faded. Jacob waited beside him, reading the tension in his shoulders. What did he mean? Jacob asked. Nothing good. That evening, Mercy served dinner in careful silence. Samuel picked at his food. Jacob watched them both with eyes too old for his face. The army letter burned against Mercy's ribs. Thomas's name on official documents. Questions she had spent 2 years avoiding. After Jacob went to bed, Samuel poured himself whiskey. The first drink Mercy had seen him take in months. He knows something, Samuel said. Mercy continued washing dishes, her hands steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. Wild's been asking questions, in town, about your husband, about why you came west. Mercy's hands stilled. Thomas. Always Thomas. The ghost that followed her across 1,000 miles of empty land. Thomas died of fever, she said. The lie came smooth as water. Nothing more to know. Samuel studied her face in the lamplight, looking for cracks in her composure. Mercy, his voice gentled, if there's something you need to tell me. There's nothing. But there was everything. Thomas bleeding out in a saloon, cards scattered on whiskey-stained felt, a white man's knife finding soft flesh between ribs, the army investigation that sent her running west with Jacob and a carpetbag full of fear. Samuel finished his whiskey, poured another. Wild wants this land, the water rights. He'll use whatever he can find to take it. Then we don't give him anything to find. Samuel looked at her for a long moment. This woman who had saved his ranch, saved his sanity, saved him from the bottle and the gun he had pressed to his temple on too many dark nights. We, he said. We, she confirmed. Outside, wind rattled the windows. Winter holding on past its welcome, the kind of cold that made people do desperate things. Mercy excused herself early. In her room, she finally opened the army letter. Thomas's death certificate. Official language describing unofficial violence. And something else. A confession. Names that made her blood freeze. McKenna. The same surname as the man who had saved her life. Samuel's brother. Dead now himself. But his confession lived on, in government files. The truth about Thomas's death. The guilt money he had sent west. Money that had found its way to Samuel's ranch. Money that had rebuilt their lives. Mercy read the letter twice. Then she folded it carefully and hid it beneath her mattress. Outside her window, Samuel walked the perimeter of his land. Checking fences, looking for signs of trouble. He had no idea the trouble lived under his own roof, in the woman he trusted, in the truth she carried like a loaded gun. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of distant snow. Change coming whether they wanted it or not. Dead cattle dotted Samuel's south pasture like scattered bones, 12 head. The ones closest to good water, closest to what Wild wanted most. Samuel crouched beside a heifer. No disease. No predator marks. Just death that came quiet in the night. Poison. Jacob stood silent beside him. 16 now. Man tall, with his father's serious eyes. He understood what the dead cattle meant. How much? Jacob asked. Enough to break us. The words hung in the morning air like frost. Samuel's hands shook as he stood. Not from cold. They rode back to the house, in silence. Mercy waited on the porch. She read the news in their faces before they dismounted. "Wild?" she asked. Samuel nodded, walked past her into the house, straight to his desk, to the ledgers that would tell the story of their ruin. Mercy followed. Jacob close behind. Samuel opened the books, ran his finger down columns of numbers. His finger stopped, started again, stopped. This isn't right. Mercy's heart hammered against her ribs. "The railroad contracts," Samuel said. "These numbers, I never signed this one." He looked up at her, confusion clouding his features. "This signature, it's mine, but I don't remember writing it." Jacob moved closer, studying the pages over Samuel's shoulder. "There's more," Samuel said. "Bank documents, land office filings, all in my hand, but I never." His voice trailed off. Understanding dawned like a cold sunrise. "You can write," he said. Mercy stood perfectly still. 15 years of careful deception crumbling in a moment. "You've been signing my name, making deals, running this ranch. Samuel. All this time I thought I was barely keeping us afloat. But it was you. You saved us." Samuel closed the ledger, looked at her with eyes that held no anger, only wonder. "How?" "Thomas taught me." The words came quiet, heavy with years of hidden truth. "Before he died, he said knowledge was the only thing they couldn't take away. Your husband, the fever." Mercy shook her head. "No fever. He was murdered." The silence stretched between them. Jacob's face went white. In a saloon, over cards, a white man put a knife in his chest and walked away clean. Samuel sat down heavily, the weight of her words settling into his bones. "That's why you came west. You were running. They were asking questions about Thomas, about what he might have told his wife. I took Jacob and left before they decided to ask me direct." Jacob stepped forward. "You never told me. All these years and you never said." "What was I supposed to say? That your father died for nothing? That the man who killed him would never face justice? You were supposed to tell me the truth." Mercy looked at her son, saw Thomas in the set of his jaw, the way he held his shoulders when the world disappointed him. "The truth would have eaten you alive, same as it ate me." Samuel stood, moved to the window. Outside, buzzards circled the dead cattle. "Wild knows," he said. "About Thomas. About you running. Yes. That's why he's pushing now. He's got something to hold over us." Samuel turned back to face her. "What else haven't you told me?" The army letter, Samuel's brother, the guilt money that had built their life together, all of it burning in Mercy's chest like swallowed fire. "Nothing," she said. The lie came easier than breathing. "We need to leave," Jacob said. "Pack what we can carry and go." "No." Samuel's voice cut through the room. "This is our home. I won't be run off by threats." "It's not just threats anymore," Mercy said. "It's poison, it's murder, it's whatever Wild needs to do to get what he wants." "Then we fight." "With what? You just said the dead cattle broke us." Samuel smiled, the first real smile she had seen from him in weeks. "No, you said the cattle broke us, but you've been running this place for years. You know what we really have, what we can really afford." Mercy pulled out the hidden ledger, the real one, numbers that told the true story of the ranch's success, contracts and investments and careful savings that Samuel had never known existed. "We're not broke," she said. "We're better than we've ever been." Samuel studied the pages, shook his head in amazement. "You've been playing poor while we got rich. I've been keeping us alive." A sound outside made them all freeze. Hoofbeats, multiple riders. Samuel moved to the window. Sheriff Coleman and 3 deputies, Wild trailing behind on his bay mare. "What do they want?" Jacob asked. Samuel checked the rifle above the door, made sure it was loaded. To finish what they started, the riders dismounted. Coleman approached the porch with careful steps. His hand rested on his gun. "Samuel McKenna," he called out, "we need to talk about some irregularities in your business dealings." Through the window, Mercy watched Wild smile, the expression of a man whose patience had finally paid off. And about some questions regarding Thomas Caldwell, questions that need answering. Mercy's blood turned to ice water. Coleman knew. About the forgeries. About Thomas. About all of it. Samuel looked at her, reading the fear in her face. "Whatever happens," he said quietly, "we face it together." Mercy nodded, but her hand drifted to the hidden letter beneath her apron. The one truth that would destroy everything they had built. The one truth she could never tell. Outside, Coleman's voice rose impatiently. "We can do this easy or hard, Samuel. Your choice." Samuel opened the door, stepped onto the porch with his hands visible but ready. "Sheriff, what can I do for you?" Behind him, Mercy and Jacob waited in the shadows, a family bound by love and lies, about to discover which was stronger. Coleman stepped onto the porch. His deputies flanked him like hunting dogs. Wild remained mounted, watching from his expensive saddle. "Got some questions about your business practices, Samuel. Signatures that don't quite match up." Samuel's jaw tightened. "My business is legal." "That so?" Coleman pulled out a folded document. "This railroad contract, dated 6 months ago. Funny thing is, you were laid up with that broken leg then. Doctors got records, yet here's your signature clear as day." Behind Samuel, Mercy stood frozen. The forgery, one of dozens she had crafted to keep them afloat. "Someone's been signing papers in your name," Coleman continued. "That's a federal crime." Wild urged his horse closer. "Unless you made other arrangements, personal arrangements, with someone who had reasons to stay hidden." The threat hung in the air like smoke from a dying fire. "I handle my own affairs," Samuel said. "Do you?" Coleman smiled without warmth. "What about Thomas Caldwell's affairs? The investigation that went cold when his widow disappeared west?" Mercy's world tilted. The ground beneath her feet turned to quicksand. Coleman pulled out another paper. Official letterhead. Army seal. Funny how things surface after all these years. Confessions, names, connections that make a man wonder about coincidences. Samuel turned to look at Mercy. Questions in his eyes that she could not answer without destroying everything. "Thomas Caldwell was murdered by Robert McKenna," Coleman said. "Your brother, Samuel. The guilt money he sent you built this ranch. Built this life." The words hit Samuel like physical blows. He staggered back against the porch rail. "That's impossible." "Is it? Your brother confessed before he died, sent money west to ease his conscience, money that ended up in your accounts, right around the time this place started prospering." Samuel looked at Mercy again. This time she saw the truth dawning in his face, the terrible mathematics of their shared history. "You knew," he whispered. Mercy said nothing. What was there to say? "She knew," Coleman confirmed. "Knew and never told you. Been living off her husband's blood. Money for 15 years. Jacob stepped forward. His young face twisted with betrayal and rage. "Is it true?" Mercy looked at her son, saw Thomas in his accusing eyes. "Yes," the word fell between them like a gravestone. "You knew who killed Papa and you said nothing? What would you have me do? Destroy the man who saved your life? Burn down the only home we've ever known?" "I would have you tell the truth." Samuel moved away from her. Physical distance that spoke louder than words. "All these years," he said, "every meal, every conversation, Every moment I thought we were building something real. It was real. Built on my brother's guilt. Your husband's death, how is that real? Wild leaned forward in his saddle, sensing the kill. Touching reunion, he said, but we've got business to conclude. Samuel, you're going to sign that deed. Transfer the water rights to me. Clean up this whole messy situation. And if I don't? Your lady friend hangs for forgery. You hang as an accessory. The boy gets sent east to an orphanage. Coleman nodded toward his deputies. They moved closer to the porch. Or you can make this easy. Sign the papers. Take what I'm offering. Leave quiet. Samuel looked at the deed in Coleman's hand, at Wild's satisfied smile, at the deputies with their hands near their guns. Then he looked at Mercy. 15 years, he said. Was any of it true? All of it was true. Every day. Every choice. Every moment I chose to stay. Even knowing what you knew. Especially knowing. The silence stretched between them. 15 years of shared life hanging in the balance. Samuel walked to Coleman, took the deed, read it slowly. You want me to sign away everything we built. Everything your brother's guilt money built, Wild corrected. Samuel folded the paper carefully, looked at Mercy one last time. Then he tore the deed in half. Get off my land. Coleman's hand moved to his gun. That was a mistake, Samuel. No. The mistake was believing you had something over us. Samuel pulled Mercy close, felt Jacob move to stand beside them. This is our family, our home. Whatever blood built it, we're the ones who made it live. Coleman drew his weapon. His deputies followed suit. That's when the smell of smoke reached them. Orange light flickered in the distance. The hay barn. Then the equipment shed. Wild's final card played while they argued on the porch. Fire, Jacob shouted. The flames spread fast. Dry wood and stored feed catching like tinder. 15 years of careful building consumed in minutes. In the chaos, Coleman and his men moved to contain the blaze. Wild spurred his horse closer to the burning buildings, making sure the job was done right. Samuel ran toward the flames, Jacob beside him, fighting to save what they could. Mercy stood alone on the porch, the army letter still hidden in her apron, the final truth that could destroy even this moment of unity. She pulled out the paper, read Thomas's name one last time. Then she walked to the fire and threw it into the flames. The confession curled and blackened. Thomas's murder became ash. Robert McKenna's guilt burned away with everything else. Some truths were too heavy for love to carry. Samuel found her in the smoke and firelight, his face streaked with soot and sweat. The house? Safe. For now. They watched their barn collapse in a shower of sparks, watched Wild ride away into the darkness, watched Coleman and his men retreat with nothing accomplished. We can rebuild, Samuel said. Yes, we can. Jacob emerged from the smoke, carrying salvaged tools and what supplies he could save, the boy who had become a man in the space of one terrible night. He looked at his mother, at Samuel, at the ashes of their old life. Then he picked up Samuel's hammer from where it had fallen, began pulling nails from a piece of salvaged lumber, building instead of burning, choosing construction over destruction. The three of them stood together in the dying light, a family forged in fire and bound by choices that would echo through whatever came next. The wind scattered the ashes across the dark Wyoming sky, carrying away the last of the old secrets. What remained was harder to name but impossible to destroy. It was simply home, and that is all to the story for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel, and if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.